Autumn in Medora is an impressive sight. The vibrant colors of the trees really complement the striped hills. While the scenery is gorgeous, we're not just here to take in the views, but instead to gather data.
Today we're out here to do some excavation work of the cantonment that used to be here. It was a military installation. The Medora Foundation has very kindly allowed us to come out and do some archaeological testing. First, some archaeologists came out and did some field survey. After that, there were some shovel tests that were done.
The project consists of 3 dig sites. They were chosen because the geophysical data collected earlier showed anomalies underground at each spot. Anomalies are essentially points of interest where something in the ground reflects differently from the surrounding soil.
Depending on what kind of equipment you're using, it might show you magnetic signals, which will show you things like pieces of metal, or if fire happened, that'll affect how the readings come out. We know the fort burned to the ground, so it was a good way to look at where walls and other features might be. So we've come out to do further testing where those anomalies appeared to see what we can find.
The color of the soil can be an indicator of an anomaly as well.
So a Munsell chart is basically standardized colors, and they're printed out by one company who's done it for years and years and years and years. The idea is that you can get a more consistent reading if you have something to compare it to. So it's like picking out paint samples. If you've got an old wall that you've painted but don't know what the color was, you can pick out a bunch of paint samples, bring it home, see which one matches the most closely. But these are specifically soil colors. It's a little subjective. If it's cloudy out like it is right now, it'll look different than it's sunny, which it was earlier this morning. Also, person to person, you might have a little different reading of which color you think is closest. Right now, we're mostly looking at burn features. Those are gonna be darker. We've got a funny looking yellow color, probably something that burned, but we're not sure what it is. And that's very different than the kind of general color that the soil is. It has potential to tell you things, but you don't always know what it's gonna tell you until you're all done and have everything recorded. So in this unit over here, there was one of these anomalies and it didn't match up with a wall or anything. So we wanted to find out what was here. And there is a big piece of metal down there. Actually, after the geophysical work was done, they also did more shovel probes. We found the shovel test probe that they did, and they missed the metal piece by about that much. So they were looking in the right area and they were testing in the right area, but just took opening up the whole unit to find out where that actually is.
Turns out that hunk of metal was a rusted axe head. It will be cataloged alongside other pieces that were found in the hole.
Yeah.
The Medora Cantonment was constructed in 1879 as part of the railroad development that was going through. It was meant kind of for military protection when they were building the railroad. It was staffed from the fall of 1879 until March of 1883, so a little over 3 years. After that, it then was turned into kind of like a hunting lodge or hunting resort. You know, it's Medora, so of course Teddy Roosevelt was there at one point. He was there for a hunting trip. And then in 1887, it was officially kind of burned down. Don't know why, either construction or just what. The goal of our excavation work was honestly to just see if the cantonment was there. You know, since it was before the town of Medora, there wasn't a lot of other landmarks, but we were able to use some of the mapping technology, GIS and those things, to overlay the maps using the railroad and be like, okay, this is possibly where we think the cantonment might be. There are a couple of really good photos. One of the storehouses, there's a picture of the soldiers lined up in front of it, matched it up with 2025, and that butte hasn't changed much, so we were able to pretty much line up that exact angle. Going into it, we were expecting it to be a military site, so a lot of military buttons or military ceramics, a lot of nails, glass, that kind of stuff. We actually found a lot of domestic things, so we found a tin soldier, so like a little child's toy. We found a ceramic doorknob. So, this kind of really shows that it's more than just a military site. I mean, it's not uncommon that women and children would accompany soldiers, but for some of these items, they're a little bit more extravagant than, say, a military fort. Maybe these are from when it was the hunting lodge. Ultimately, we'd love to continue to go out and do more work. We've been talking with the Teddy Roosevelt Medora Foundation. They're very excited about what we're finding, and we are in talks with maybe a couple universities to kind of do a field school, so bring in additional students, some university staff, kind of just make this like a bigger program, invite out people to come and see the digs, get students involved. So, I think it's an opportunity to partner with the foundation, but then also kind of work on some of our sites.